Chapter 11 Night Falls. Drake and Oscar walked behind the hopping Finsterbuns. Wildroot danced on Worm's neck as the Earth Dragon crawled along. "Worm, thank you for freezing those Finsterbuns," Drake said. Oscar sighed. "Your dragon has very amazing powers. You're lucky to be his Dragon Master." "I am," Drake agreed, "but I had no idea how powerful he was when we first met. Worm surprised me." "I do not think Wildroot will surprise me," Oscar said, looking at his dragon. "Listen, the Dragonstone chooses every Dragon Master for a reason," Drake said. "There's a reason why it chose you. You knew the poem about the dragon's bloom. It was your idea to bring the Finsterbuns to the Camel Field. And the danger isn't over yet. Who knows what else you and Wildroot will do?" Oscar frowned and didn't reply. When they finally reached the Camel Field, Khepri stopped her sunlight. The flower dragons stopped dancing, and the Finsterbuns sniffed the air. Then they began munching on the chamomile flowers. Anna swooped down on Khepri and landed beside Worm. "We did it," she cried. Drake gazed at the sky. "It's almost sunset. We should hurry back to the valley." Anna grinned at the flower dragons. "Who wants a ride?" she asked. Several of the dragons happily climbed on Khepri's back. The sun dragon took off, flying low. When everyone returned to the valley, Drake gathered the flower dragons together. "Worm, please tell them to get ready for the werewolf. They should drink lots of starflower nectar to power up," Drake instructed. Worm nodded. Soon, the flower dragons spread out across the field and began to sip the nectar. Oscar took off his backpack. "I brought some food for my trip to find my father. We should all eat something." As the sun went down, Anna built a small fire in a clearing on the edge of the flowers. The three Dragon Masters sat near it, watching the flames as they ate. Worm, Khepri, and Wildroot stayed close by. "This plan is madness," Oscar said. "There's a werewolf on the way. We need weapons." "I think Wildroot and the rest of the flower dragons will come through," Drake told him. "Yes," Anna agreed. "I have seen dragons do some really amazing things." Oscar looked up at the stars. "I certainly hope their power works so we can go look for my father soon." "Wildroot can come with us," Drake said. "I'm sure you two will bond on the trip." Oscar shrugged. "Maybe. Wildroot is very cute, but I have always dreamed of being Dragon Master of a big, strong dragon like the legendary dragon of Stelberg." Drake saw Wildroot frown. The little dragon hopped off Worm and walked away. Drake sighed. "Oscar, I think—" "Oh!" A howl came from the forest. Drake felt the chill deep in his bones. Oscar jumped up. "The werewolf is here!" Chapter 12 Under Attack. Shaking in fear, the flower dragons rushed toward the Dragon Masters. Bright Eye flew over to Drake. "We must wait until the werewolf is in sight to perform bloom," she told him. "Wildroot can command the flower dragons when it is time." "Oh!" The werewolf howled again. Drake's head snapped to the right. That howl came from another direction. Are there two werewolves? "The creature is circling us," Worm told him. "It will force us into a small group so that it can attack us all at once." "Can you sense where it is and freeze it?" Drake asked. "It is moving too fast right now," Worm replied. "Perhaps when it gets closer." "Oh!" The howl was louder this time. The hair stood up on Drake's arms. "The werewolf is circling us," Drake yelled. "Anna, get Khepri in place to charge up the flower dragons." Anna jumped on Khepri's back. "Khepri, fly!" Wildroot and the rest of the flower dragons grouped together. Worm, Drake, and Oscar stood near the tiny dragons, keeping an eye out for the werewolf. "Oh!" "Drake, the werewolf will attack any minute," Worm warned. But before Drake could warn the others, the werewolf charged at them, snarling and snapping its jaws. For a second, Drake couldn't breathe. The creature was big as a horse, with muscles ripping under shaggy brown fur. Two red eyes glowed on its face. and rows of yellow, sharp teeth filled its huge mouth. Drake shook off his fear. "Worm, freeze it!" he yelled. Worm's eyes began to glow, but the werewolf was faster. It leapt through the air and tackled Worm, knocking him to the ground. It snarled and unfurled its jagged claws. Overhead, Anna cried out, "Khepri, sunlight!" A burst of bright golden light lit up the night, distracting the werewolf. Khepri flew in a tighter circle around the flower dragons, focusing her light on them. "Dragons, soak up the sunlight," Bright Eye called out. The flower dragons lifted their face to the sunlight. "Rrrr!" The beast leapt away from Worm. It jumped over the earth dragon and lunged towards the terrified flower dragons. "Worm, Worm, are you all right?" Drake cried, running to his dragon. Oscar dashed past Drake and jumped in between the werewolf and the flower dragons. "Leave these dragons alone, you monster!" he yelled. Chapter 13. Bloom. The werewolf lunged at Oscar, snapping its jaws. "Oscar!" Drake yelled. The werewolf's body glowed green, and it stopped in midair. Drake gasped and looked at Worm. The dragon's eyes were open and shining with green light. "Good work, Worm!" Drake cried. Oscar's face was pale. He turned to Drake. "What now?" Drake heard Worm's voice in his head. "This werewolf has powerful energy. I can't keep it frozen much longer. The flower dragons must perform Bloom." "Ask Wildroot to give the flower dragons the command, Worm," Drake instructed. Suddenly, Wildroot climbed onto Oscar's arm. Oscar's dragonstone began to glow. His mouth dropped open. "I can hear Wildroot in my head," he said, turning to his flower dragon. "The flower dragons are ready, but Worm must let go of the werewolf for their Bloom power to work." Oscar looked into Wildroot's eyes. "I know you can do it, and I'll be here to protect you if you need me." Wildroot nodded. Bright Eye landed on Oscar's shoulder. "You and Wildroot are ready to lead the flower dragons." Oscar smiled proudly. "Okay, Wildroot, tell the dragons to perform Bloom." The flower dragons began to glow with soft white light. The petals on top of each one's head opened up. A sweet scent traveled across the air. "They're ready," Oscar announced. "Worm, unfreeze the werewolf now," Drake yelled. The green glow in Worm's eyes faded. The werewolf landed on the grass and snarled. Then it sniffed the air. The creature collapsed to the ground. "I think it's working," Oscar cried, and Drake and Anna cheered. But then the werewolf slowly began to rise, growling. Suddenly, Wildroot ran toward the werewolf. "Wildroot, where are you going?" Oscar yelled. Wildroot jumped on the werewolf's back. The dragon's body started to glow brightly, and the werewolf's nose twitched from the flowery smell. White light spread across the werewolf. Then the creature became still. In a flash, the light exploded. Drake had to shield his eyes from the brightness. When the light faded, he saw a man lying in the grass where the werewolf had been. A man with blonde, wavy hair. Chapter 14. The Traveler's Tale. "Father!" Oscar cried. Dazed, the man sat up. He stared at Oscar. "Son!" he cried, and Oscar ran into his arms. They both sobbed. Anna and Khepri flew down from the sky. Wildroot and the flower dragons gathered around Oscar and his father. Drake rushed over to them, shaking his head. "Oscar, is this really your father? But how?" "I'm not sure what happened to me," the man said, standing up. "You've been missing for 1 month since you left for Greystone Castle," Oscar explained. His father nodded. "It's coming back to me. I was returning from the castle when I got lost in the dark forest. I became so angry that I ate some strange white berries." "Moonberries are white," Anna cried. "They're what turned you into a werewolf." Oscar's father shrugged. "To think I became that foul creature. But how? How did you save me?" "I'm a dragon master now, father," Oscar explained. "My dragon, Wildroot, and the rest of his tribe saved you. They used their powers to undo the terrible curse." Oscar's father gazed at the flower dragons in wonder. "Thank you all," he said. He looked at his son. I know it's late, but I would like to get back to Stelberg. Of course. The village is only an hour's walk from here, Oscar said. Wildroot, will you come with us? Wildroot climbed onto Oscar's arm, and the boy grinned. I can't wait to show you off to the villagers. Maybe they'll even build you a statue, he said. Stelberg has a brave new dragon protector. Bright Eye flew in front of Oscar. A magical ball of light glowed on the end of her wand. I will come with you and light your way before I head back to the forest. Oscar turned to his new friends. Thank you, Drake and Anna, he said. I hope one day I can be a great dragon master like you both are. Anna grinned. I'm sure you will. Drake looked at his dragon. Worm, time to go home. Chapter 15. Diego's Idea. Worm transported Drake, Anna, and Kepri to Bracken. When they appeared in the training room, they heard laughter from down the hall. Drake and Anna ran to the Dragon Master's classroom. Griffith's wizard friend Diego was seated at the table with Griffith, Bo, and Rory. Rory jumped up. Drake, Anna, how did it go? Did you stop the red-eyed monster? We did, Anna replied. And we also found Wildroot's Dragon Master, Oscar. He and Wildroot made a connection. Griffith nodded. Excellent. I know a wizard in the lofty mountains who can help Oscar and Wildroot learn to work together. I will contact her. Tell us about the monster, Bo asked Drake. It's a long story, Drake said, taking a seat. He yawned. And I'm pretty tired. It seems like Worm and I have been going non-stop ever since Astrid got loose. Diego smiled. That's exactly why I'm here, Drake. Carlos is very fond of you. He'll never forget when you and Worm came to the land of Aragon to tell him he was a Dragon Master. He would like you both to come for a visit. Drake remembered that trip well. He thought of the smell of the salt air and the sandy beach where Diego and Carlos lived. It would be a very peaceful place to rest, and he liked Carlos and his dragon. How soon can we leave? Drake asked, grinning. I can't wait to see Carlos and Lalo, the lightning dragon, again. The end.